Hey, good morning. How's everybody doing today? Great to see you guys up and at it. Another Sunday show. Now, the show is basically number 29 now. 29 shows in. And I'm super happy to be doing these shows on Sunday with you guys. I hope everybody's doing really well today. It's a gloomy day here in Canada where I'm at, in Montreal. Rain. We've been getting rain the last couple of days, but I'm not complaining because basically with all this rain, it gives me an opportunity to practice more, and God knows I need it. I hope you guys are all practicing as well because that's super important. I have my guitar plugged in today. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it's not going directly through the mic. It's just in the room here. I was just plugged in because I'm practicing for a jam session this evening, and I'm kind of cramming. To be honest with you, I was always that kid who would like cram the day before the exams, and that's basically what I'm doing today. I'm trying to go through the set list and sort of refresh my memory. It's been so long since we've played. I don't know if I'm clipping the microphone, guys. If you can hear me okay, give me a thumbs up. If you can hear the guitar okay, give me a thumbs up too. I don't know if I'm playing too loud. I have it on the 2 watt mode. That's the Blackstar amp that I have in the background there. And I just wanted to plug in, warm up the fingers. So yeah, I'm really digging the amplifier so far. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I want to say good morning to everybody so far that's in the house. Jack, good morning. Alan, Paul, 5150, Victor. Victor says, finally I'm early. Did you set your alarm clock, Victor? You know what? If you guys give me your numbers, I'll call you before the show. I'll just give you a wake up call. It's okay, man. I often have to like set my alarm just to get up in time for the shows because I tend to sleep in a little bit more these days because my schedule's all messed up with, being at home with the social isolation and everything like that. It throws everything out of whack. Sometimes I talk to my kids and they don't even know what day it is. So it's like they're all frazzled as well. Cool Tunes Made Easy. Good morning, Matt. Good morning, Bud. Good morning to you. John Black. Good morning, Bruce. All right, we have a good group of people in the house, which is fantastic to see. I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody that got up early. The Nye as well. Tom, nice to see you guys. Landon's in the house as well. So basically, Landon, this is the Telecaster I have plugged in here is one of my favorites, actually. I talked about this in the last session. It's basically a little bit of a parts caster, but it's made with an authentic Fender Telecaster body. The neck I purchased because I like the profile on the neck and I like the fretboard as well. So I basically set it up, tinted it, and got it set up for the guitar. And custom pickups in there as well, locking tuners. It's right now it's one of my favorite Telecasters. Well, actually, one of my favorite guitars that I own. I love this guitar, and I play this guitar all the time. And I think today is going to be again. This guitar is coming with me for the jam session. We're playing tonight. And it's funny because I had the conversation with everyone last weekend, and I said, like, when I get ready for a jam session, I always consider taking a new guitar or something that I want to try out, or basically play something different. And in the last minute, like just before I grab the guitar to leave, I always end up grabbing this one. So there's just something about this Telecaster. It just sounds really, really good. I find the Telecaster has mojo because you can get a spank out of it. You can get a nice fat sound out of it. You can emulate like with the sounds that you would get with P90s. You could almost get to the sounds you would get with a Les Paul, and you can still have the spank. So it's a very, very versatile guitar, and it cleans up so nicely just with the volume. You know, you can go from just a little bit of dirt to like. Sorry, the guitar's too low. My bench here is a little low. I can't. Let me see if I can. Actually, I can't really. I gotta back up. Gotta back up a little bit more for you to see the guitar a little bit better here. I don't want to get too far from the microphone, otherwise you won't hear me properly. Anyways, so I was practicing because tonight we're having our jam session, and there's a few songs that I still need to learn. Specifically, I was working on the solo of the Deep Purple song "Highway Star," and it's a challenging solo, man. It's usually when you're playing a solo for a song, you don't necessarily have to end it like right on the button. And the Highway Star solo, there's such a groove happening that, you know, till the last note, you have to really end it directly on that note for it to gel properly. And it's really easy to get lost in the timing. And, you know, if you sway a little bit from the groove, you're basically done, because at the end you're not ending on that the last note. And it's really like, but it's a beautiful solo. I'm not gonna play it right now because it's gonna be video's gonna be demonetized, obviously. So I've been working on that for a while, and I find that the best way to develop your timing on these type of solos is basically to play them really, really slow, because when you're playing super slow, it really accentuates the defects in your timing. If you're playing them like, you know, that's already fast. That's almost the speed of the song. So you have to really play it slow, like. And then you get confused sometimes because you're not used to playing it slow like that. So it really makes it stick in your brain. And I find that's a great way to learn how to play your solos fast, is to start slow. So I see there's a few more people in the house already. Quicksilver, good morning. FX-teen, good morning as well. I'm a little far from the computer right now, so my eyesight's not what it used to be, so I'm trying to read all of your messages. It's a little bit small, but I'll manage. So I wanted to start off by saying a big thank you to everyone who's been supporting the channel. I really do appreciate it. For all of you that have been purchasing the swag, you know, that goes a long way in helping me out as well. So that's a big thumbs up from me. If you guys don't know what that is, basically underneath all of my videos, there's a bunch of merchandise that you can buy. Everything from stickers to t-shirts to cups, mugs, you know, all kinds of stuff, phone holders, phone covers. And I know a lot of you have been buying them, and I really appreciate that. And I want to give a shout out to those people, and I want to say, if you guys send me a photo of you and your merch, I would love to post that somewhere, maybe on my Addicted to Gear website, or maybe at the end of some videos, just to say thank you to you guys. And you can do that by sending it to me. You just send me an email, and I'll give out my email. Actually, it's also available on my website. So if you go to addictedtogear.com and you go to the Contact Me section, it's there. But my email is riplead, RIPLEAD, @gmail.com. So if any of you want to contact me directly, either with some questions or you have some items that you'd love for me to review, definitely you can reach out to me. I'm super happy to do that with you guys. And, just don't abuse my email. But other than that, it's all good. So if you send me a picture of you and your merch, I'll put it at the end of some of my videos and just give a big shout out and thank you to my subscribers, because I really do appreciate what you guys are doing for me and help to keep the channel going. So I wanted to post a question of the day. I didn't get a chance to do it. Usually I do it at the top of the screen, of the comment screen, but I'll just tell you verbally today and see what you guys think of this. I posted a poll just the other day, and the poll was basically asking the question, does the guitar actually exist in terms of the main guitar? So what I'm trying to ask here is, if there would be a guitar that would be considered your last guitar, in other words, a guitar so good that if you ended up owning that guitar, it would pretty much ruin you for any other guitars, and you would feel like you're done. You've purchased the best guitar that you can find, and you don't need to buy any other guitars. Now, does that actually exist? Maybe you already have that guitar. I just want to know your thoughts on that. Later on, I'll go to the poll question, and I'll tell you, what the poll readings are in terms of that question. But I just wanted to ask that here and see what you guys think. All right. So let's start off by taking a couple of questions. Later on in the session, I'm also going to answer some questions that some of the subscribers have asked me directly. And I wanted to share that with you also, because I think it would be beneficial for you guys to be in on that as well. Let me just move some stuff around here. I'm hitting some... All right, so let's go to some questions. Let me get a little bit closer here so I can see what I'm doing. So Jack Collins, he's apologizing because he's not able to be in on the session today. He says he's going to promise to watch it later in the evening. That's fine, Jack. No worries there, man. You don't have to apologize at all. But he says that he loves us, and he bought the Dimebag Darrell Razorback guitar. So congratulations on your new guitar day, and definitely give us some input on how you like that guitar, whether or not you feel that it was a good buy and you're super happy with it. There's nothing like the feeling of getting a brand new guitar when that box arrives and you're like so excited. I feel like I'm a little kid at Christmas when that happens. Paul says, good morning, Tony. Being here is the only way to start off a fresh week with a positive, upbeat mindset. Thanks for the inspiration. Well, thank you, Paul. Thank you for being a very dedicated subscriber, and you definitely are here all the time, and I appreciate you, man. Appreciate your comments as well. So thanks for joining us again today. Alan's all the way from Chester, UK, and he's in the house as well. Strat 5150 is also surprised that he's early today. He says, good morning, everyone. So good morning to you. How come you're up so early? You couldn't sleep? Good morning, Victor. And good morning to Matt as well. Cool Tunes Made Easy. How's it going, man? Nice to see you in the house as well. He says it's beautiful in Toronto. Well, it's not beautiful here, man. It's super overcast, rainy, and we're supposed to be getting rain tonight as well, which is a pain because I wanted to bring my Blackstar amplifier with me tonight to the jam. And I don't have a custom cover for it yet. I have another cover that kind of fits it. It's a little bit large, however. So it won't be perfect, but I would never like take an amp out of the house without having a cover for it, especially if it's threatening to rain, because the last thing I would want to do is get water in the amplifier and damage it. So I'm going to take the chance of taking it with me today. But I can't stop playing that amplifier, guys. I'm telling you, it's got me super happy. I've been playing only that amplifier for the last little while. It's let me see if I can show it to you there. Right there. Right over here. See it? Right there. It's mic'd up. That's why it's far back there. I was doing some videos, some demo videos, and I needed it to be mic'd up. So I just put it in the room, mic it up, and it just sounds so good. The thing that really surprises me a lot about that amplifier is just that it's, I don't have to worry about dialing in. It's got the sound like natively. You know what I mean? Like, you know, sometimes you buy an amplifier and you have to like spend so much time tweaking it for some reason. Like, you know, my Mesa Boogies were like that. You had to really like dial it in super like precisely, and it was always difficult to get like the great, like that perfect sound. A little, you know, a half a turn here, half a turn there, and it would throw everything out of whack. But this amplifier just basically has the sound that I'm after. And the reason why I like it so much is specifically, not only because of that, it's really the only amplifier that I'm actually considering going to the jam with without bringing any pedals, because the overdriven tones on that amplifier are like perfect. They're exactly what I'm trying to get out of my pedals, right? So what's the point of bringing my pedals? I A-B'd my pedals with the distortion sound from the dirty channel on that amplifier, and I preferred the amplifier over my pedals. So, you know, what's the point of bringing my pedals? The only thing I usually put on my pedal board are overdrive, just to, you know, get a little bit more gain. I have an EP booster just to fatten things up, an EQ, a reverb, and a delay pedal. That's pretty much it. So you know, I don't need the EQ pedal because I'm getting the sounds I want from the amplifier. I don't really need it. The EP booster just fattens things up, but the amp sounds fat already the way it is. It's like I can get a really nice bottom end with the cabinet, which is surprising because it's so small. And the other, I mean, it's got a reverb on it, which is a digital reverb, but it sounds fine. So I don't really need another reverb. The only thing that I might consider bringing is a delay, but I don't really need to play with the delay. I don't have any big delay sounds that I need. And the amp cleans up really well just with the foot switch. So I can get a nice clean sound, and I can get all of the dirt that I need with it. So the amp, someone's asking me what amp that is. Eric is asking me. So Eric, that is the Blackstar JJN 20R, which is the Jared James Nichols 20R combo. It's right there. Here, let me give you a look at it here. I don't know if you can see it. It's right there, right on the floor. So that's the amp right there. I don't know if you can see that right there. It's way back in the room. It's mic'd up with a couple of my microphones, but that's the one. And like I mentioned, I really can't. I can't get enough of the amplifier. I've been playing it nonstop. This is. I mean, you're not going to get a good sound out of this little USB microphone that's, you know, 20 feet away from it. But then I can just like dial back the volume. A little out of tune here. So you get the idea, and so I want to bring it with me tonight just to be able to see what what kind of more sounds I can get in a live situation, because it does take a couple of days to basically get learn all the nuances on the amplifier, in my opinion. But I'm loving it so far. So if you guys have an opportunity to get one in your area or try one out in your area, definitely do that. If you're a Marshall fan, you might not need a Marshall. It has that recorded Marshall sound, which I like a lot. A lot of people claim they can't find them because they were limited edition. So I don't know if they're sold out or what, but definitely check them out. I wasn't a big Blackstar fan in the past before this specific amplifier, but now this one's changed my mind, and I totally understand why. Even Jared James Nichols himself in a couple of interviews has said, like, his pedal board is pretty much basic because you don't really need to overdo it with any kind of effects once you have a good dialed in amplifier. And I also get the idea of him wanting to play like a simple guitar. Like his guitar is a guitar with P90, one P90 pickup in the bridge position, and that amplifier with this guitar is a match made in heaven, man. I love this guitar, and I love it even more now that I found an amp that really sounds great with this guitar. It doesn't make the guitar sound too spiky or anything like that, and it has a lot of range in terms of tone. So I get it. I get why he wants to play the P90s with it, because the Telecaster is a lot like a guitar with P90s. It's like single coil. You can get a fat sound out of it, but technically, it's usually a little bit more of an early breakup kind of sound. It works well, really well. All right, so who else is in the house? We have Tim in the house. Good morning. Francis is here. Hey, Francis, how are you doing, buddy? Let's take a couple more questions here. Let's see what if there's anything that people have asked so far as I've been scrolling and talking. So Bruce says that he bought a used tissue that Kurt Cobain once used to blow his nose for 1.2 million. Can't decide whether to donate it to the Kleenex Museum or send it to to who? You didn't finish your thought. Bruce is giving me a little bit of burn there. I did a video a couple days ago where I talked about the fact that Kurt Cobain's acoustic Martin guitar sold for $6 million. I don't know if you guys have seen that video or not, but a lot of people are kind of, I guess, on the line. Like, it's common to see guitars that are owned by rock stars, famous rock stars, sell for a lot of money. We saw that with David Gilmour's Black Strat, which is a beautiful black Strat. I think anybody would love to own that Strat. We saw that with Eric Clapton's Blackie as well. The thing is, I mean, both of those guitars, the artists who played them are still alive. So, and they have an extensive guitar collection, which probably will end up on the auction block eventually as well. And I believe Eric Clapton donated the proceeds to the auction to Crossroads, which is the alcohol addiction or substance addiction center that helps people with addictions. So it went to a good cause, and his guitar only didn't even sell for $1 million. This is Eric Clapton's Black Strat. I thought it would have sold for more, but it sold for $940,000. David Gilmour's Strat sold for 3 point something million, just under 4 million. But Kurt Cobain sold for $6 million. That's a lot of money for an acoustic guitar. That's a lot of money for any guitar. And a lot of people felt that that's, wasn't right. I guess the owner of the guitar doesn't think it's a big deal because he seems to be happy with his new purchase, right? So the question, was, what do you think? Like, do you think Kurt Cobain would have been rolling in his grave if he found out that his guitar sold for that kind of cash? And what's really sad about this whole story is that, Kurt Cobain's family, his ex-wife and his daughter, they're kind of train wrecks, right? They're kind of train wrecks in terms of their life and their struggles with drugs and struggles with fame. I'm not sure about his daughter as much, what kind of issues she has in terms of, being a functioning part of society. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you, but I do know that the guitar didn't even belong to them anymore. It actually was given away as part of a divorce settlement by his daughter. And that's sad. You're giving away your dad's guitar in a divorce settlement. Like, oh man. Like if I had a guitar that belonged to my dad and was given to me by him or however I ended up getting it, I would cherish that thing, even if it was, beat up and old or whatever. But anyways, she ended up giving it away in a divorce settlement, and I guess her ex-husband didn't really care about the guitar. Maybe he cared more about the money, and I guess he ended up selling it. So he basically can retire right now and doesn't have to worry about money. So it's kind of a sad story. Um, there's only one guitar that I'd love to spend that kind of money on, honestly, if I had that kind of money. And of course, that's Jimmy Page's Les Paul. And that's just because Jimmy Page to me is such a big icon, such a big influence. And I still, till today, I'm amazed by the music that they came out with, by the riffs they came out with. And I just sometimes just sit down and listen to Led Zeppelin. I go on a Led Zeppelin rampage and I just listen to Led Zeppelin nonstop, just like put it on shuffle, just play everything, and every song is good. I mean, okay, not every song. There's a couple of songs that are maybe not as good, but if you listen to the songs and you break them down, they sound fantastic. I'm like, how did these guys come out with so much great music? It really just is amazing to me. So meeting Jimmy Page would be definitely something on my bucket list. Owning his guitar, that to me would be the I'm done guitar. If I had Jimmy Page's Les Paul, that would be my last guitar. How could I compare any other guitar to that guitar? It would just be, that's the one. And would I play it? Heck yeah, I'd play it. I wouldn't take it out of the house, but I'd play it. Fat Philosopher says, Tony, you got to buy Jimmy Page's signature Telecaster. You know what? I'm not interested in buying that. I saw it, and a lot of people tell me about getting that particular Telecaster, but I don't. It doesn't do it for me. Like I'm not into signature guitars. I don't really care for them. It's just a reproduction. I don't own any signature guitars. So I don't go out of my way looking for them. I appreciate Telecasters, and I'm sure it's probably a great Telecaster, but you're also paying a premium because it has Jimmy Page's name on it. And I don't know. I find that's gonna be like, that's not what I'm after. Hey Nico, nice to see you. Good morning, Wayne. Nice to see you too. Wayne says, "Hey all, don't you just love Tony's shirt?" Yeah, I'm wearing my guitar-inspired shirt. All the guitars equal peace, man. It's kind of a hippie kind of throwback, but I like the guitars. It's gonna inspire me. I'll wear this tonight for the jam. Bruce says, "Make all of the jokes you want, but Stairway to Heaven is still a great song." I don't make any jokes about it. I mean, I've the only thing I feel unfortunately about that particular song is that it's been played to death, so everybody's kind of sick of hearing it. But it's still a great song. I agree. If you work in a music store, you probably wouldn't agree. But I like that song. I think that's great. Uh, I'm trying to think if I had to pick my favorite Led Zeppelin songs or song. I say songs because there's definitely more than one. Man, there's so many. It's hard. It's hard really to pick one. They just get me rocking. I'm just thinking right now of Bring It On Home. It's not necessarily one of their most commercial songs, but it's like It's got a little bit of everything in there, and you listen to that song. It's got the harmonica. It's got Robert Plant, emulating the old the old time singers in that. It's got the beginning section. It's just the little shuffle. Really simple, right? And then there's that iconic that lick, man. That's the lick. I love that lick. And then when you listen to the drums on it and the bass on it, it just like it's solid rock all the way through. One of the greats. I really like that song. Of course, there's so many other ones, but I'm not gonna go on a tangent. I don't want this to turn into a Zepp session, but I'm a huge Zepp fan, as you guys already know. Oh, so Cool Tunes Made Easy says, "What do you think of the song Dancing Days? I really love that one in my one of my top Zepp songs. Your thoughts?" Dancing Days is one of those. It's a little psychedelic if you look at it and you listen to it carefully. Um, that riff is really like not necessarily a rock riff that you would normally hear. Na, 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 and it repeats. Na, 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 na. So it has that kind of drone sound to it, which is kind of like psychedelic. If you ask me, it's pretty cool. Definitely not one of my favorite songs, but yeah, I've listened to that song over and over again so many times. I used to have an album. It was my sister's album actually, and it was one of the few Led Zeppelin songs, if not the only Led Zeppelin album that I had when I before I discovered Led Zeppelin. And it wasn't one of their most popular albums. It was In Through the Outdoor, and that album. And I still remember today because it was the original one where you can pull out the sleeve on the album, and the inside sleeve, if you would like, wet your finger and rub it, it was a black and white image that would actually you can color it in, and that was before CDs took over and everything, and that was one of the originals. I should have kept it because I'm sure it was pretty collectible because later on the album didn't have that feature. Anyway, I listened to that album over and over again, and songs like Hot Dog, which was a basic, a straight ahead like country song. But the guitar on that song is crazy, man. And if you try to learn how to play it, it's super fast. Um, uh, Quite a few different songs on that album that were not like status quo Zeppelin. So I don't think it was one of their biggest albums, but definitely gave me a taste of more the sort of the alternate Zeppelin tunes. And then, of course, I discovered, all of the other albums, Led Zeppelin 1 and everything else, and it just blew my socks off. I still remember the first time I heard Moby Dick and the first time I heard Heartbreaker on the radio. When I heard Heartbreaker for the first time, I'm like, what the hell is that? My jaw dropped. I think I even called a friend of mine. I'm like, did you hear this? Listen to this. And we would like, put the phone up against the radio. And I'm like, listen to this riff. And it just blew my socks off. I remember when I heard Moby Dick for the first time, I called a drummer friend of mine who's actually a very good drummer. Back in the day, it was my high school days. And I said, do you know what this is? Did you hear this? And he's like, yeah, I think I heard it before. That was funny. So where are we at with the questions? Let me go back and take a look here. Um, so Alan says signature guitars are great if only I could afford one. Yeah, I think a lot of these guitars are getting really expensive. You know what? I have to comment on something because I saw another posting somewhere about Fender releasing a new line of guitars, and I think they call them. Indigo Dye, an Indigo Dye series. These are guitars made in Japan. And what they're doing is they're taking the guitars and they're somehow putting the bodies in, I guess, vats of indigo dye to basically dye the wood. And it's a limited release. There's only 15 made. They're made in Japan. And to me, sometimes, honestly, guys, when people say limited edition, it just means you can't buy this crap forever. Because they're charging almost $4,000 for these guitars, and it's basically just a Strat. And to me, if you're taking a body and you're dipping it in dye, it's even easier to do because you don't have to go through the whole process of all the painting and buffing and everything else. It's probably a simpler process, and they're charging $3,800 again for a regular Strat that's been dye painted. Who cares? I mean, honestly, Fender's been selling us the same stuff over and over again, and I don't mind that because I know they have the formula. People love Strats, they love Telecasters. You can see I love my Telecaster as well. But I mean, don't try and sell me the same stuff and constantly up the price over and over again. It's the same guitars, you know what I mean? So why have they reached, $4,000 now? It makes no sense. And it really leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And what's even more important, and I know I give Fender a lot of shit. Sorry, I don't mean to say that. I have to be careful what I say. We're going to be blocked. I give Fender a lot of heck because the fact that their guitars just go up, up, up. Okay, and the prices. I mean, and honestly, as I said the other day, when I went to the store and checked out the Fender guitars that they're coming out now, the new series, they're not that great. I mean, honestly, for the price. I mean, they're not bad guitars, but if you look at the price and how much the guitar is selling for, I expect a lot more. And a friend of mine went to the store just yesterday and he emailed me and he says, hey, I was looking for a bass for my daughter, and he's a bass player and he plays in my band. And he's like, I'm looking for a guitar for my daughter, and I tried out the new line of basses that Fender have come up with, and he was very disappointed. And he's like, I'm gonna have to go and find myself an older one or something like that, because he wasn't impressed. And I told him, I said, I totally agree. Totally agree. Every time I leave the guitar stores, I'm happy because the stuff that I have, I feel feels better than most of the new stuff that they're trying to sell me for $3,000, man. So I don't know. Thumbs down for Fender in terms of what they're doing with their pricing. They should, especially in today's, like, the way things are going today and situations, they should lower their prices, not put them higher. I'm going to give a big thumbs up to Taylor because Taylor has been doing the opposite. So, I mean, Taylor guitars are normally expensive anyway, so it's not like a huge deal. But they came out with a new line of acoustic guitars. I think they called them, I'm not even sure what they called them. Grand Pacific something or other. I don't really remember. Anyway, they're actually lowering the price on these guitars. So they're $13.99, which is not inexpensive for an acoustic guitar. But Taylor guitars, we all know, like, you're looking at over $2,000 for good ones. So, in that regards, there's definitely stuff happening there in terms of price sensitivity, and that's really nice of those guys at Taylor. I think that's the right way of doing it, like, try and keep your prices affordable. All right, so let's look at some more questions here. Let me catch up. So Fat Philosopher says, Cobain's daughter has a net worth of 200 million. She will do all right. Is she really worth that kind of dough? Wow. I didn't know that. I figured, yeah, maybe I guess her dad must have set up a trust fund or something like that. Maybe all of the royalties is going to her. Who knows? Wow, that's really crazy. I wish I had a $2 million trust fund. 200 million, sorry, not 2 million. Um, Bruce says there's a law in my area that if you are a Strat player, you need to own at least one white one. Might be a global law for sure. I have nothing against white Strats. I like them. Actually, if the one of the road worn Strats that I have is off white, it's not actually white white. I don't like the white guitars, but if it's cream or off white, it's okay. Let's look at some of the questions here. Landon's out of here. Take it easy, Landon. Thanks for dropping by, man. Alan says, I use my RG for all genres of music. It sounds great on clean. The RG series is nice. I like the RG Ibanez guitars. I think they're solid guitars all around. There's not much, there's not much to upgrade if you like that kind of style. Some people stay away from the Ibanez guitars because the necks are longer, and it does definitely make the strings feel a little bit different when you're playing them. So I think there's that as well. Some people just don't get along with it. It makes the strings feel a little bit more bendy. If you're used to like a Strat or a shorter scale guitar doesn't really have that as much. In the Light is one of the really cool Led Zeppelin tunes, and that's on In Through the Outdoor, and that's also very like, and it has that repeating, you know, that repeating, that repeating tone. It's beautiful. The way it starts too, with that psychedelic kind of tone in the beginning, it's like really nice. My time of dying. That's a classic. Yeah, beautiful song. Beautiful song. So many great songs. And if you listen to each individual parts on a Led Zeppelin song, you really do appreciate how great every single member of that band was. I mean, nobody was a slouch. You listen to some songs with the bass, it's beautiful. The bass riffs, the bass lines on that stuff from John Paul Jones, amazing stuff. Of course, Jimmy Page, and the drums. Obviously, the drums we all know, and that iconic voice, right? Bruce says, I spent the entire week after it was released learning it note for note. Almost 50 years later, I still love to jam to it. You know what? The first song I ever learned was a Led Zeppelin song, and it was Over the Hills and Far Away. And I don't want to play it because I'm going to be demonetized. I wish this stupid demonetization thing would just go away. It would make, sharing guitar information so much easier. But anyways, that was the first song I ever learned from Led Zeppelin, and I still play it today. I love that song. One of the great Led Zeppelin acoustic guitars, songs of many. That wouldn't be hard to do. I'd be in on that. Talk about Led Zeppelin all the way. There's a lot of people that don't like Led Zeppelin, so I don't want to like force other people to listen to me rant about how much I like Led Zeppelin. Lead for your head Sunday. Absolutely. Bruce says there's a lot of YouTube videos of Zepp rehearsal sessions. Some great stuff there. Yeah. And there's also some stuff that's not that great. Let's be honest. I mean, after there was a lot of things that were put out there that didn't really cut it in terms of sound after I would say later on towards the end. One of the great recordings, and if you haven't seen it already, check it out. If you're a Zeppelin fan, is the session with the Black Crowes, where Jimmy Page is doing a concert with the guys from the Black Crowes. The guys from the Black Crowes really rock, man. They did an excellent job. Even the singer, he's not Robert Plant, but he was no slouch. He was hitting all of the high notes. They were belting them out, and Jimmy Page was, let's just say, in terms of like his physical self, he wasn't in the best shape. He was overweight, and you can see he was like struggling a little bit. But hey, they made him sound really, really good. Check it out. It's on YouTube. I'm sure you can find it. The whole concert's there, and I don't know why they never released that on DVD. I would have bought it. I know they released it on CD. You can get it on CD, but I don't think they ever released a video of that. Eric, I think I'm gonna post a permanent link on my videos because there's at least one person that asks me this every time we have a live session. I bought the wall art online. I don't remember what the store was called, but you can search it. You can just type in guitar prints, guitar wall prints. You'll find it. There's a few people that sell them. Yeah, the acoustic stuff we can't forget about the acoustic stuff like well, I mentioned Over the Hills and Far Far Away. Ramble On. The beginning of Ramble On is like iconic. Black Mountain Side. At one point, I used to know how to play that song. Well, note for note, and then with the alternate tunings, it definitely made it harder to play. But that's a wonderful song. Beautiful, beautiful acoustic things that he created. Hi there. How's it? I don't know how to pronounce your first name. Jakal? I don't know. Jakal Vi? Are you related to Steve? thanks for the thanks for the nice comment. I'm glad you enjoyed the live stream. I think you're new. I haven't seen you here before, so welcome to it. Fat Philosopher says I bought an acoustic Ibanez yesterday. So what did you buy? Which one? Fat Philosopher's a regular here. He's got heavy duty gear addiction. He's always buying stuff. So support him, guys. Support him. Tell him it's okay. It's gonna be all right. I get the indigo dye thing. I think like I get it, but again, I don't get the price. Sorry. I think they're just riding the coattails of yesteryear, and they're basically bringing all that cash to the bank with a big grin on their face because they can. So they haven't really invented anything new in the last little while. It's just a rehash. They need to move forward a little bit, but I know it's always a challenge when the legacy of why you're so popular is the old stuff. So changing that is really difficult. Yeah, if they would do something like that, PRS body with a Fender headstock, I've seen like photoshopped images of that online. That would be pretty funny, I have to say. I wonder if they'd get away with it. Probably not. Yeah, for 4,000 bucks, you have a PRS Silverline. And honestly, 4,000 bucks for that guitar, that's a lot of money, man. PRS are not known for giving their stuff away either, and their prices are still going up as well. So at a certain point, enough's enough. I want to buy a mini Telecaster and bought a Squire Classic Vibe because it felt and sounds better. You know what? I say this also almost every time we have a live session. The Squire stuff, the Classic Vibe stuff is great. I have Nothing bad to say about the classic vibe series. So, four chord set says you still have the classic vibe Telecaster. So, actually, I have one of them. I had two. I had the butterscotch one and I had the 50s. I sold the butterscotch one and I kept the 50s. Um, just because I like the body of the 50s better than the butterscotch one. Not because the butterscotch one was a slouch or anything like that. It was a great guitar. And nothing negative to say about that guitar. I'd buy another one in a heartbeat. It's just that I had other things that I wanted to buy, and it was kind of being redundant at that point. But great guitar. How hard is it to change electronics on a 335 hollow body? Not worth the effort? Yeah. It's a real pain, man. It's a real pain. Honestly, it's not worth the effort. If you're just changing it out to change it out, if everything works and you're just changing it out because you want to, I would say don't. If everything's working okay, if you're changing it out because there's something wrong with it, then go for it. But honestly, if I had to do it again, I'd bring it to somebody because it's really a pain. It takes a lot of time. Guys at the stores, they know how to do this stuff. Get yourself a technician that's a good technician. They'll do it in a jiffy and they'll do a better job. It's hard to get everything in there without getting all the electronics tangled because you have to kind of wire everything up before you put them into the sound hole. And once you put it into the sound hole, it's very easy to get like the solder joints to come apart, and the wires get tangled up and it's a big mess. So honestly, I'd pay somebody to do it. I've done it, but it's like really not worth the time. Cohen saying he says I'm just restoring my RG as we speak. That's cool, man. What are you restoring on it? What needs to be done? Yeah, I agree, man. Olympic White Nitro Relic with a rosewood board. That's my strat. That's the strat that I have. It's exactly that. I love that guitar. And it has to be rosewood. It can't be maple. It's not the same. Hmm. Absolutely. It'll teach you to swear. Fishing line is the answer. Tied to the original parts, then don't lose the end. You can actually, fishing line is good, but it's a little bit finicky. It's so thin. A tip that I learned, I'll share this tip with you guys. Let me just make the tip sound so you guys pay attention. So the tip sound, if you're rewiring a 335, get yourself a clear PVC tube that you would use for an aquarium. What goes into the pump of an aquarium. You can buy this at some stores for a couple bucks. Stick it into the knob part of the capacitor, the knob, not the capacitor, the knob. When you take out the knob, the actual knob, you have the shaft. Well, stick the shaft into the end of the tube. And then you can fish the tube through the holes, pull it through nice and easy. And the tube is easy to hang on to. It doesn't come loose, and you don't have to tie and untie stuff. And it's really an easier way of doing it. So you're converting your RG from an HH to a HSH. Why? I guess you want more tonal possibilities. I don't really get along really well with the HSH style guitars. I feel that the space between the pickups is limited, and I always end up hitting the stupid pickups with my pick whenever there's a HSH combination. So I prefer to use HH, stay with an HH style guitar. But I get it. I get why some people would want to do that. That's cool, man. Let's not forget Ramble On. Of course, I mentioned that. Ramble On's classic. Absolutely classic to me. One like for Led Zeppelin. Yeah, definitely. Led Zeppelin till I die, guys. Cool Tunes Made Easy says the Black Crowes in the 80s opened for Robert Plant. They were killer. So maybe that's where the connection was made with Jimmy Page. Not sure if Jimmy Page was in on that, but the Rain song's another classic. Absolutely. I've never seen anybody from Led Zeppelin live. I've never seen Robert Plant. I've never seen Jimmy Page. That's but honestly, today I would almost not want to see them because I've seen the stuff that they did when they came back, and it's sad to see that Robert Plant can't hit the high notes anymore. But it's no wonder he can't hit the high notes. He basically blew out his vocal cords with all the Led Zeppelin screaming back in the day. So I get it. So everything that they play is kind of, when it gets to the high parts, it's kind of like he sings it lower now because he can't really hit it. So that's a little bit sad, but maybe that's why I don't know if I'd go see them live. I think I would be disappointed if I see them live today. I prefer to keep the memories in my head of the way I appreciated them when I was younger. Oh man, the wife was pissed last night but seemed fine this morning. You know what you need to do? This is a little trick between you and me, okay? This is another trick. So listen up, guys. Trick. If you bring something new, especially like an acoustic guitar, right? What you need to do is you have to uh, take that guitar and use it to your advantage, right? So you have to play your wife a beautiful romantic song, throw some rose petals on the bed, take her into the room with you, play a beautiful acoustic song, ballad for her, look into her eyes. She'll forget about the acoustic guitar. It's all good after that. So what you're putting into your RG is what? Iron gear rolling mill, over round pig iron in the middle, and a hot slag in the bridge. So I guess you're an iron gear fan. The rolling mill pickups I've tried in the past, they sound really good. The overwound pig, didn't try that one, and a hot slag, I didn't try that one either. I've tried the Tesla Sharks, and they sound nice too. So that's a good combination. I think you're gonna like it. So it's going to be more. It's going to have more bite to it, I think, at the end. How true. Alan says we are all addicted to gear. It's an essential part of life. Hey man, if you don't have gear in your life, what's the point? That's how I look at it. $51.50 says mine was sitting in here looking at boxes with a puzzled look. Luckily, she didn't open the MJT body right next to her. I'm glad I'm not the only one. My wife, bless her soul, is right now, she's totally desensitized to any of the stuff that I bring in. She doesn't even ask me anymore. She knows it is what it is. It's a losing battle with me. So Fender released an Instagram video for John 5 playing a Telecaster ukulele. Interesting. John 5 can really play though. I gotta hand it to the guy, man. He's got the chops. He's really good. I wish, I think, if we would hang out, me and him, I think we have a lot in common besides the makeup thing. I'm not a big fan of the makeup, but the guy seems like a really cool guy, and definitely has the chops. That's one of the things about the classic Vibe series. It's true. The fret material that they use on the classic Vibes are a little soft and they do tend to wear out quick. So I guess the fret's a little bit cheaper. So yeah, that's maybe one of the things with, but you know, eventually when they're worn out, if you played enough to wear out the frets, it means you love it. So, you know, a fret job is not the end of the world. You can replace them with stainless steel or something else when you get them redone. Nico says high prices for guitars these days makes no sense, nor is it needed. You know what? Again, we always have this. This always comes up. It's a question of labor, right? If you're buying a guitar made in the States, labor costs are high. I get it. So, you know, eventually it's gonna have to trickle down to the consumer. The thing is, I mean, there's a lot of budget guitars, budget-friendly guitars that could be made like really, really good with some minor tweaks. And honestly, if you take the time to do that, you end up with killer guitars. And you don't need to go to the 2000 price point or above. I mean, the law of diminishing returns applies, right? Yeah, they are good. The Iron Gear pickups are good. It's a good deal if you're in the UK, but if you're in Canada, by the time you pay the VAT, tax, and shipping, you know, it's not that much of a good deal anymore. It's like you're saving a couple of bucks, but not that much. So that's why I haven't bought more of them. I like the ones I tried, but yeah, the price is a little bit too high for me. I remember that guitar, Bruce, when Fender released a set neck guitar. I remember it didn't look that great. I think they didn't really associate that shape to Fender, and I think that's why it's hard to change people's perception when they have something in their mind about a particular guitar. You know, if a guitar from Fender changes too much, it's somehow not considered Fender anymore, if I can say that. I don't know. I think it's because the guitars that are shaped like the original Fenders have that shape that associates them to the old days. Coming out with a guitar from a company that is not Fender, I mean, Fender was sold, right? Leo Fender sold the company to the Fender that we have today. So when they're coming out with a guitar that is not that shape, people are not that interested anymore. You know, it's just a psychological thing. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys. So Ed says he got the Mosky Plexi and the Mini Screamer. Plexi has higher gain than I thought. Love the Screamer, sounds better than Ibanez. So I didn't buy the Mosky Screamer because I have other overdrive pedals that are like Tube Screamer style. I might check it out though. I don't know if I even need it, honestly. But it probably, you know, at that price, I probably will end up trying one out eventually. Paul says, Tony, Telecaster, it can't be rosewood. It has to be maple. It's not the same. I love rosewood. I'm a rosewood guy. I have a maple Telecaster too. I have two of them. And maple's cool. I like it. But there's just something about rosewood, in my opinion. I think it's more the look than the actual sound because rosewood to me sounds a little bit less bright, but again, I don't want to get into the tone wood discussion. I think for me it's mostly a look thing. I just find that the rosewood, it looks richer. You know, it's a nicer wood in my opinion, and the maple, you know, is lacquered, right? You have like a lacquer on top of it, so I don't like that glassy feel too much. Unless the neck is not lacquered, then I like the maple, but then it gets dirty, right? The grease from your fingers, the oils from your fingers penetrate into the wood of the maple. So Jackal I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, man. But he says he prefers the HH also. So we have something in common. Why don't they use Led Zeppelin for the soundtrack of the Lord of the Rings movies? Like the immigrant song, something like that at the beginning? That would be cool. I think probably because of the royalties they have to pay. It's probably the reason for that. They're already what they've used Led Zeppelin songs in the past for commercials. I think it was wasn't it what was it? Cadillac. Wasn't it Cadillac? I think they had a Led Zeppelin tune. I think at this point it's best not to mess with Led Zeppelin. You know, don't commercialize it. I'm okay with that. Yeah, that's a classic too. Definitely a classic. One of the ones that I like from Led Zeppelin that is a B side is Traveling Riverside Blues. The slide guitar on that is really cool, and it's got a really nice riff to it. It really gets you going. It's harder to find because it was a B side. Yeah, so that's the thing with maple. So he says, I bought a new EVH standard exotic with a cooked maple neck. My question is, do I clean my neck like a regular maple neck products? I don't know what you mean by regular maple neck products. Most of the time, the cleaners that they use that they sell in guitar shops are made to clean the polyurethane. So you don't want to use those because polyurethane is basically plastic, right? So it's not the same. Whatever cleaner you use to clean the neck, your maple neck, if it's not covered in a clear poly, if it's covered in a clear poly, I can't speak. If it's covered in a clear poly, those products will work fine. If it's not covered in a clear poly and it's just wood, you don't want to use those products. You need like wood cleaning products for that. And you want stuff that's delicate and won't tint the neck all that much. So I'm not sure what the best product would be for that. Um, Trying to think. I'm sure there's specialized products out there for cleaning wood, but you don't want anything that's going to leave like a residue behind because eventually that's going to discolor. What I normally use on my rosewood neck, because the rosewood necks are not covered in poly, I just use mineral oil. You can buy this at the pharmacy. I don't know. I guess you can also probably use that on a maple neck that doesn't have any finish on it. And it's just, you buy it in a little clear bottle. It's about, I don't know, $5 for a big bottle like this. That bottle will last you forever. And mineral oil is basically, you can actually consume it. Like you use it when you can't poop. And so they actually use this on cutting boards. Like whenever butchers have cutting blocks, they have to treat them so they don't crack. They actually use mineral oil on it because you can consume it. It's not toxic to you. And it looks like baby oil, but it's not baby oil. Don't use baby oil. And it works well. And maybe you can use something like that. I had the same issue on my Charvel. I had a Charvel San Dimas, and it had the neck wasn't tinted with poly. It was just plain wood. And what you can also do is you can also use a little bit of wax. They do have like wax products, carnauba wax, for example. And you can use that. It basically protects, the wax does protect the wood to a certain degree and stops the oils from going in as much. But you got to be careful which ones you use. You guys crack me up. Cool Tunes Made Easy says, I hide my new gear in the car till the coast is clear. Here, you guys, I'm laughing because I've done that. I've done that in the past. You know what? Here's another tip. Here's another tip, guys. If you're bringing in new gear, Basically, what you do is you bring it in and you just tell them, like if it's a guitar, you just tell them like, so and so, my buddy wants me to adjust his guitar. He doesn't know how to do it, so he basically gave it to me so I can do it for him. And then after a couple of days or whatever, they all kind of blend together. They kind of forget. So that's another way of doing it. And if ever she asks about it, it's like, yeah, he didn't come and pick it up yet. I'm still waiting for him. I'm gonna give him a call. I know all of them. I should write a book. Should write a book. Yeah, I agree. It's like going to funerals. I don't want to see bands that are way past their stopping point. Looking at you, Mick. I agree. Yeah, it's sad to see some bands that keep trying to come back and like fail miserably, and it's just a money grab for that at that point. So I don't know. I watched the documentary on the Police. Um, I forget the title of it. It's one of their songs. And it's a documentary that was created by not Stuart Copeland, but Andy Summers, the guitarist. And basically from the early years all the way to the last tour, the comeback tour, and you can see like what they've gone through over the years, and how they worked it, and basically three guys that didn't really get along at all throughout the years, and then they came back for one last hoopla, probably because of the money. I think they all kind of needed the money at that point. And I went to that concert. I actually saw that concert, and I paid to go see them. Stuart Copeland was a monster. He was the guy who was basically creating that Police sound. Without him, it wouldn't be the Police. Even if Andy Summers was there and Sting was there, the Police sound comes from Stuart Copeland, the drummer, and he was like on the ball, man. He was like playing as good as any of the recorded songs that I ever heard on any of the albums. He was amazing. Sting seemed to have a little bit of a cold or something when he was singing, so I don't think he was in top form. And Andy Summers reminded me of Alfred Hitchcock. He's let himself go throughout the years. He has a pot, and I'm not criticizing. I have my own pot. But yeah, he played well. He played well. But yeah, you can see that the guys are no spring chickens anymore. But I was glad to see them because I never actually saw the Police live, and it was the first opportunity I got to see them live. So I can scratch that off my bucket list. I learned our wedding song, and my wife forgot being mad about guitars. You see, that's the way to do it, man. Absolutely. Fat Philosopher says, just do what I do. Go buy so many that you can't tell the difference when a new one comes. Or just get them and get a couple of that are the same color, right? At the end of the day, one Strat looks like another Strat when it's the same color. So my RG has a super distortion in the bridge and a X2N in the neck. So what do you guys like so much about the super distortion type pickups? To me, like I'm not a super high gain type of player. I'm more of a classic vintage rock type guy, and for me, I think that having like a lot of distortion kind of takes away from the sound of the actual amplifier and the actual guitar. So I don't usually gravitate to the high distortion type pickups. I usually go for the classic, like the 8K, maybe 7.5K type pickups. I just feel that you get more of the nuances from the instrument, whereas the high gain, super high output pickups tend to have a lot of pull. Like when you're getting to 14K, you can almost see the strings being sucked down by the magnets. So I find that it does change the sound quite a bit. Eric says, sadly, about 2 years back, hit a low, got frustrated and sold off all of my gear, which also had 35 pedals. Man, dude, what the heck? Yeah, I hear you though. I hear you. You know, it's happened to me that there's some points in your life where you're like, I'm done. I'm getting too old for this, and it's like, do I need to constantly chase my tail? And you know, but gladly I stuck with it, and I don't regret sticking with it. Sometimes you do get into those lows, though. I do hear you, man. It's happened to me before, and the good thing is you can always buy them again, right? There's no such thing as no turning back when it comes to playing. So, are you still playing now, or have you gotten out of that rut, or what's going on, Eric? Wayne says, I once tried rewiring an old hollow body uh, Norma. I wrapped in black and put in a couple of Kent Armstrongs, then effed up the wiring and just gave up and ate crow and paid a pro. It was the way to go. I agree, man. I agree. I have the 335 that I'm building from a kit, and it's coming along super nicely. I'm just taking my time. I have parts that are coming in, so I can't actually put it together yet. But when it comes to putting in the pickups and doing the wiring, I think I'm just gonna bring it to somebody. Nico says, I got 3 Harleys and they're great guitars, but hey, I am a fanboy. 3 Harleys and they are great. Are you talking about 3 Harley-Davidsons or 3 Harley-Bentons? I agree with Tony. Ordering pickups from overseas gets the price jacked up so much that it just makes sense to buy from the big brands. Yeah, absolutely, man. You can pick up used, Seymour Duncan pickups on eBay all day long, and Kijiji and Craigslist all day long. And at the end, you bargain and you get them for the same price. So yeah, it's one of those things, man. Shipping. I wish we didn't have to pay for shipping. Bud is asking me, are you using any pedals with your new amp? Right now, no. Right now, I'm going direct, man. It's just my Telecaster, straight pipe, right into the amp. Like you can see the amp back there, and there's nothing between me and the amp. I don't. That's the cool thing about this amp. Check this out. I don't know if you can see the lead, but it's basically going right into the amplifier. See it there? No pedals. I don't need them. That's the great thing about this amplifier, man. It's like I'm blown away by it. And I'm honestly gonna not bring pedals today to the jam session. I'm just gonna play directly through the Blackstar. I don't know what pedals I would need with this amplifier. Honestly, drive is great. The drive channel, the dirty channel is great. The foot pedal gives you the clean, the dirty. You have a reverb on board, and you have a voicing switch so you can actually boost it during the solos. So I don't even need a boost pedal. And I think that's why Jared James Nichols decided to, go with this particular amp, because it has the sound dialed in the way I like it. I'm falling behind on the questions here. Let me try and catch up here. Yeah, ebony does look great on a white guitar. I agree with you. But if you get a nice rosewood neck, also it looks great too. They're just like some of the new ones. They're not rosewood. They're using other types of wood, so it's not as dark. I like the darker woods. Like look how this one's pretty. As you can see, it's pretty dark. I don't know if you can make it out there, but it's nice. It's dark. So I like that kind of rosewood. I'm not crazy about the new stuff. Although the baked maple, some of the baked maple necks do look nice as well. Hey, Paddle Pedal Room, nice to see you here, man. I hope everything is going well for you. Rosewood necks feel better for my fingers. They do feel better. It's like I feel like maybe this is a psychological thing, but it does feel like it's less uh, hard when you're pressing down. I don't know, but it's for me it's really the paint. So when they're putting the paint on the maple, when they're putting that poly on the maple, I don't like that feeling. I prefer the feeling of just straight wood. I know there's gonna be jokes. Go ahead and make your jokes. Tony likes the feel of wood. Okay. Ed wants to know what's a budget-friendly P90 for my Epiphone. Love Gibson P90, some things that sound like the Gibson. Well, you know what? I pulled out I pulled out the P90s from my Harley Benton, and I think these are Roswell pickups. They sound good, man. I put in another set of P90s that were more expensive, and yeah, they do sound better, but not that much. So get these on eBay if you can find P90 pickups from Roswell. They're great. You know, go with that. They're not going to cost you much. Save yourself a few bucks. So, Cranar says, I just got a double cut junior. It literally blew my mind. I have a video of it on my channel. All right, cool. Give us the name of your channel. I'll check it out, man. Is that a Gibson Junior or is it another brand? Curious. Yeah, I think we have another rosewood fan. Alan also says he prefers rosewood or ebony. They look far better than maple. There's some that are nice though. I mean, I did have a Music Man guitar at one point, and it had a maple, but it was bird's eye maple, and it felt wonderful. That neck was really well done because they didn't put poly on it. It was just a waxed finish, and it felt really really good, and it looked nice too. Bruce says that he's got several rosewood Strats and Telecasters and several maple Strats and Telecasters. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but they seem to have a completely different feel. Might be my imagination. It's not your imagination, Bruce. I feel the same way, man. It doesn't feel the same. It's funny because it's subtle, and normally people would say, come on, guys, you know, how different could it be? Like, I don't know if I'd be able to tell by playing it blindfolded if I'd be playing a maple neck or a rosewood neck. It would be almost impossible. But there's something there. There's something to it. I don't know. Maybe it's psychological. I'm not really sure. I would have to try and do that blind test, but I'm pretty sure I'd fail miserably. It's hard enough just to tell what guitar you're playing when you're blindfolded. Never mind what kind of neck it has. Paul, thanks, Tony, thanks for putting me into the Nano Donner analog delay, but you can get that same pedal with as the Moon Echo for $20. It's made by Joyo using the Iron Man circuit. I'm pretty sure you can. All of these pedals, I know they're made by the same brands. They just rebrand them different things. So like Joyo, Donner, Amun. What are some of the other ones? There's a few other ones as well. I know that they're just rebranding them. So yeah, you can get them for $20 probably. I don't know how good they are, and I don't know how well. Some of them have stood up better than others. The Joyo ones usually are pretty good. Donner, some of the Donner stuff that I've tried has failed on me already. So you got to be careful with some of the stuff that you get. But that one seems to work well, and I like the sound of it. So, and it's small. So I'm continuing to use it till it dies on me. For 20 bucks, you can't go wrong. Nico says, I bought the ST62cc great guitar. The Junior is also at my list after the TE52. I have my eye on a Junior, but not the double cut. I'm thinking I'm going to probably go with a single cut with the P90s eventually. But I'm holding out for right now. All the stuff from Harley Benton is sort of back ordered, or they're not shipping right now. So there's no point putting in orders right now because you're just going to wait for a long time. And there have been people that have contacted me saying that they've received guitars from Harley Benton that seem to be B stock. And they were disappointed because they waited a long time to get them, and then there would be problems, and then communication wasn't always easy, and getting stuff back or getting a credit or being able to send them back for a replacement was a pain. Look, all I can say about that is that the stuff is being made overseas. I think a lot of the stuff that they're selling is not coming directly from them. They're getting them from other suppliers all over the world. Some of them good, some of them bad. So you have to know that what you get might not be perfect. And if you're really a stickler and you really want a perfect guitar, the best thing to do would be to buy local and to try out the guitar before you dish out any money. When you're buying a guitar sight unseen, they're always bound to be issues. And at the end of the day, if you're not able to work on your own guitar to fix those issues, you might not be happy with the purchase, and really it'll become a hassle. And at the end of the day, you're better off just buying local. I know that a lot of people have said that about Harley Benton. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if they sell. I don't know this for a fact, and I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, but they're selling a lot of guitars, and there's a lot of guitars that do come back for whatever reason. I'm sure they don't necessarily ship them back to their suppliers. I mean, they probably give them to YouTubers to review, or probably sell them as B stock. Maybe some of them get sold and not necessarily as B stock. They end up in the regular inventory. So I don't know if you guys have had that experience, but I think there's been enough talk about that I feel that it could be the truth. I'm not really sure, but my opinion from what I've heard. Trinity Ludus TV says, thoughts on Tweed amplifiers. Tweed amplifiers look great. I've only tried a couple of Tweed amplifiers, and the thing is, that Tweed amplifier sound is Tweed amp. If you're looking for that Tweed amp sound, then definitely get a Tweed amp. If you're looking for a Tweed amp that could do a lot more, you might not be satisfied. Like when we say Tweed, what are we talking about? Are we talking about a Junior? Are we talking about like a Blues Junior? Are we talking about a straight Tweed amplifier? Are we talking about I don't know. There's so many different Tweed amps that Fender have come out through. I'm thinking like the ones that I've tried the Eric Clapton model, and I didn't like it. It's expensive. And what ended up happening for me was that I ended up seeing that it sounded a little bit too bright. It was way too bright, and it had that ice picky thing happening. So I didn't necessarily want to use that amplifier because I knew it was going to be limited for what I play. There are great Tweed amplifiers that are not necessarily Fender. Lazy J comes to mind. A really great sounding reproduction, I guess, of that Fender sound. but super expensive. So again, I don't think that is the one that I'd pay money for, because I'm more of a Marshall guy. And like if you want that early Marshall sound, you might go with a bassman. Again, really loud amplifiers. They don't necessarily have the appointments that I need. Like I really need an effects loop. I like to have that. I like to have the power attenuation. I like to have certain things on it. But if you're an old schooler and you are really going for that vintage tweed sound, and that's the only sound you want to deal with, definitely the tweed amps could be great. I love the look of them though. I gotta say, tweed, there's something about a nice tweed amp, especially as it gets older. It definitely looks great in my opinion. Fat Philosopher says, my new Steinberger came in with a loose wire in the switch, so the neck pickup didn't work. Sent it back because under warranty. Should I have just fixed it myself? Honestly, if it's just a loose wire, it's a 2-second thing to fix. I wouldn't bother sending it back, just because of the time involved in doing so and the cost involved in doing so. And honestly, you have a chance of it getting wrecked again when you're shipping it back to them, right? So I would have just fixed it myself. But I know how to do that. I mean, if you don't know how, then you have to bring it somewhere. But I prefer not to ship stuff when I don't have to. Tony, what strings you using on your electric? Right now, I'm a big fan of Ernie Ball. I usually go with the regular Slinky or the Super Slinky. I'm going to be trying out a new set where it's going to be, it's sort of a hybrid. I ordered a bunch, but Ernie Balls. I always use Ernie Ball. I've had experience with other brands like Diodario, JSH Boomers. I've tried those. I've tried other ones, but I always go back to the Ernie Ball strings. Strat 5150 says that old dark oily looking rosewood kind of gives me wood. Yeah, that's the thing about rosewood, right? The darker it gets, the nicer it sounds and nicer it looks. Yeah, Bruce, I made a video on that. If you want to check it out, it's definitely I'm one for that. I'm one for sanding the necks of the guitars. It makes them feel much better, especially if you have like a slick, like like this guitar neck is pretty slick. I haven't sanded this one down yet, but eventually I probably will. But on all of the guitars that I have sanded necks on, it does feel much better. It just does. If you haven't tried it, try it, man. You guys are gonna like it. Hey, good morning. Hussein. Am I pronouncing your name properly? Where are you from, man? I haven't seen you here before. Thank you for joining us today. Bruce says, I sometimes have new stuff shipped to my friend's store and he sneaks them over when nobody else is home. Yeah, that's cool. You have to have a friend like that. Definitely. So nobody's answered my question of the day, so I'm going to ask it again. So basically, does my last guitar actually exist? Is there a guitar that you've purchased, or that you think you can purchase that would be your last guitar? If you can get your hands on that guitar, you would say, I'm done. I don't need any other guitars. Does that even exist? So pipe in on that question. I'm curious to see what you guys think of that. Huh, interesting. So Alan says baby wipes are great for removing finger fug. You know what? The best way to clean the DNA off fretboards and not using any kind of chemicals is so razor blade. Just you just use it as a scraper, and that'll get all that crud out. You don't want to scrape it too hard though, because you don't want to leave marks, especially in a maple neck. So you want to go lightly, but that usually works. Also, a toothbrush. If you get an old toothbrush, you can actually just spray it down with whatever like cleaner is not too abrasive, or just polish it in, just like rub it in, and it gets into the wood grain a little bit, and it cleans things out. Naphtha too, absolutely. I usually naphtha is lighter fluid for what if you guys don't know. Um, yeah, you want to have straight up naphtha. That's true. You don't want to have any kind of mixture because that's cause discoloration. But yeah, I use that to clean my necks as well. I actually use naphtha first because it also dries very fast. So you use naphtha with a napkin or something, and then once it's dry, then I apply the mineral oil. That works. Yeah, I got to work on that. What should I call it, Rich? I gotta give it. Maybe I should make a video just on like the best tips that I've learned over the years for sneaking in guitars. That'd be a cool video. But then if my wife sees it, that's the gig is up. I wouldn't be able to use those anymore. I'm not sure he did, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I know that they did kind of at some point like work on other members' parts because they weren't happy with them. I think they would re-record them. Yeah, special cleaner is expensive, and many times you don't need special cleaner. A lot of the stuff that they sell you in stores, guitar stores, are just basically either cleaners that they use on regular furniture. Sometimes they're automotive products, for buffing out the scratches in the paint and all that kind of stuff. That's oftentimes just automotive polish. Carnauba wax, same thing. They'll sell a small bottle like this for like $10. You can buy a big one like this for like 12 in an auto parts store. Victor says, I feel grateful for being single. I just buy new expensive gear and then eat ramen noodles or canned spaghetti for a whole month. Hey man, you got to do what you got to do. It's worth it, isn't it? Come on. I would do the same. Stock up on the mac and cheese at Costco. They have great deals whenever you have to buy new gear. Yeah, definitely. I like vintage kind of pickups, which even Metallica uses that PAF sounds too. Yeah, vintage for me is the way to go, but that's just me. And I really love the covers when they're raw nickel. I said this over and over again. Raw nickel covers for me just is the mojo. Love that. Alnico pickups are my preference. High gain sound harsh. I agree. I agree. And sometimes you don't need that much gain. How much gain do you need? I mean, you can get the gain out of the amplifier. So, yeah, I agree with you, man. Bruce says, like all of us, I'm sure, if we had back all of the gear we have ever sold, we could open up a museum. Yeah, definitely, totally agree. Sometimes just for fun, I try and make a list of all the stuff that I've gone through over the years. Man, that's a shitload of stuff. And at the end of the day, there's some stuff I can't even remember that I had. When I think back, I'm like, oh yeah, there was that amp and that pedal and that guitar. I forgot about that. A lot of stuff for sure. Um, how loud you like a band and a guitar? in a bar show, which should be my favorite. Are you asking me how loud you like a band? If to me, um, there's something about the volume. You have to have enough volume for people to get into it, and if it's too low, you kind of feel like you're not part of the show. Case in point, I went to see the Australian Pink Floyd with a good buddy of mine, and we went to the show. It was at a forum, and it was a great venue. The band was fantastic, but the sound wasn't really that loud. It was actually like a little low. So at the end, I had a hard time getting into the music because I didn't feel I was enveloped by the sound. It was almost like I was listening to it on radio or something. And so, yeah, the sound has to be loud enough, but too loud on the other hand is like, oh man. Case in point, some loud bands that I've seen. Van Halen was loud. Rush was super loud. Um, Quite a few bands that you go home with definite ringing in your ears, and that's a little bit too much. I'm very careful these days, and I try and protect my hearing because I started getting tinnitus or tinnitus, however you want to pronounce it, and in one of my ears, and I want to protect it. Want to make sure it doesn't get worse. Eric says he recently got back into playing after 2 years. That's really cool, Eric. I'm happy for you, man. What stopped you from playing in the first place? Fat Philosopher says Metal, Scorpions, Quiet Riot, TS, Megadeth, Anthrax. The violin thing is true. I once had to clean crap off a 200-year-old violin and had to phone a shop in London, UK that restores ancient violins. It is organic and used for century. It's a good tip to know, man. Keep that one in your back pocket for sure. I love high gain, but my amp is a Canadian made clean amp D20 by Rev. That amplifier is actually pretty good. The D20 is nice. It's actually made here in not far from me actually. Rev is makes some really great sounding amplifiers. The thing is, when you have a clean amp, you're set because all you need at that point is pedals to basically give you the drive sound that you want. You know, if you don't have a clean bass, you're never going to be able to get clean out of that amplifier. So you're okay with the D20. Just get a couple of pedals that will give you the high gain that you're after, and you're okay. You're in business. It's not a negative thing, man. It's a great amplifier. Nico says, I got Paul Ferro fretboard, looks and plays great. Some of them are darker than others. I've seen that. I guess it depends what kind of species they or what they do to them. Sometimes they also tint them to make them look darker than they actually are. I have seen a couple of Paul Ferro fretboards that didn't. They look dry. I don't like that look. But once you put some of the oil on it, the mineral oil, it definitely darks it up quite a bit. Randy says a one-piece maple is my stuff. Yeah. If you can get some nice one-piece maple necks, that usually is the way to do it, man. Yeah, and you can definitely, yeah, you definitely hear the mistakes more when you're playing with a clean amplifier, for sure. So if you play a part you're trying to learn on the clean channel and get that to sound good so you don't have all of the nuance noises from your fingers and then go to gain, it usually sounds better. That's a good tip. Yeah. Clapton says that rosewood causes friction that stops you doing bends and vibrato and hates it. He is right, but I use both because a great deal on an old guitar trumps the fretboard. I don't know if I agree with Eric Clapton on that. I mean, I understand what he's saying. So basically, he's saying that because the rosewood has lines in it, that it could cause some friction. But I mean, honestly, if you're bending that hard that your fingers touching, like digging into the fretboard, that's you're really bending hard. On the other hand, I've had friction from maple necks that have the polyurethane tends to be grippy, and if you try to if you take a polyurethane neck and you try to slide your finger across it, it's sticky, whereas wood is not as sticky. So, I'm not going to argue with Eric Clapton. I think he knows what he's saying, and that's his preference. But I think it depends on also how much oil and sweat you have on your fingers at the same time. So we'll see. I mean, Donner uses rebranded Joyo, some more and some Nooks. Yeah, I think a lot of the companies that are in the Far East are like sharing resources and whatnot. So Fat Philosopher says his Ibanez acoustic is a AEL 10LEBK. So I'll have to look that one up. I'm not familiar with that model number, but how do you like it so far? And why did you choose that one? Is it just because it was easier to get, or were you shopping based on price or features? Okay, so Bruce says, Gibson Les Paul Special double cut with P90's got my eye on one. Might be the first Gibson in my collection after 10-year hiatus. Definitely, I tried a Les Paul Special. I forget where it was. I think they even had them at, out of all places, Best Buy. I was at Best Buy someplace, I don't remember where, and they had a little small section of guitars, and I'm like, whoa, since when does Best Buy sell guitars? And I think they had a Les Paul Special there, and I tried it, but of course, they don't maintain the guitars, and it was all out of whack. I think a string had a busted string on it, and the action was all out of whack, and it wasn't tuned or anything. I just put it back on the shelf and walked away. But it's interesting that Best Buy is trying to get into the guitar market. Take it easy, buddy. See you next time. Hope you'll tune in next Sunday. We'll be here again. Alan says Harley Benton quality control is down to the customer. This is why I would never buy a new one from Thomann. Buying used, you can see what you are paying for, and that's true. You definitely take a chance when you're buying anything sight unseen. I don't recommend it. But, I haven't seen that many used Harley Bentons floating around. I think a lot of people hesitate to sell them because, they're already kind of budget-friendly guitars. And at the end, if you sell them, you basically have to sell them next to nothing. I like the Adagio XT, but expensive. 20 Canadian is way too much. I agree with you, man. It's like my budget for strings is like, $8-9. I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, for $20, I can buy like 2 packs of the regular ones, and I can change them more frequently, Mike says that he has gotten 2 bad Harley Benton guitars that have cost me a boatload to make right. So no more electrics from that company. Wow. So what was the problem, Mike? I mean, it must have been a major issue if it cost you that much money to fix it. I'm curious what model guitar you were talking about and what the problems were. Fat Philosopher says, can't see the reason on buying a $200 Harley Benton when I can get a used made in Mexico Fender for $300. I agree. I totally agree. Most of the guitars that I would buy from or consider buying from Harley Benton are not necessarily Fender type guitars. So, you know, the types like the Fusion 2 is not really a Fender type guitar. It's more like a Sir type guitar. The gold top that I got was more of a Les Paul style guitar, and I wouldn't spend $2,000 or $3,000 on a Les Paul. But I agree, I wouldn't necessarily go and buy a Harley Benton Telecaster or Stratocaster style guitar. I don't think it would be worth it. Cyprus. Ah, you're from Cyprus. Nice. Awesome. Well, it's nice having you here too, buddy. Alan says, I hear about bad samples too often to risk having to return the B grades that are supposed to be new. Yeah, and that's a real pain. I mean, it's a shame. If somebody's claiming if you're paying full price for a guitar and you end up getting a B stock guitar, that's not right. You know, that's something that the company should definitely make right. So if that's been happening, that wouldn't be, I'd stop doing business with companies like that. Addicted to gear, yes. I I does a hardtail gem, lol. So it's a hardtail gem. Cool. I'm not big fans of the Floyd Rose on guitars anymore. Hardtails are cool though. I find they also have a little bit more sustain. Sorry, I missed your answer there. A super shredder that can play blues is a last guitar. A super shredder that can play blues. Okay, so what would that be? What's a super shredder that can play blues? I mean, anything can really play blues if you wanted it to. Like, are you talking what, like a Charvel? Are you talking about an Ibanez? What does that mean? Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, Bruce. Every guitar is my last guitar till another one comes along. Like, I swear, this is the last one. If I get this one, that's what I say about amps too, and that's what I've been saying about the Blackstar has kind of been a really nice amp. But is it going to be my last one? I highly doubt it. But it's been keeping me happy for a while now. I'm considering selling some of my other amps now because of the Harley Benton, and that's the thing that happens whenever you bring in new gear. You kind of reevaluate the stuff you already have, whether it's a guitar, pedal, amplifier, whatever. Right? You bring in a new pedal. You're taking that one and you're basically comparing it to a few other pedals that you have, and then basically A-Bing it and saying, okay, this pedal can do that, this pedal's out, or this one sounds better than this one, so that one's out. So now that I have the Blackstar in the house and I've been playing the Blackstar quite a bit, the Bass Breaker 15, as I mentioned, is probably going to be on the chopping block. That's ahead. And possibly the Fender Supersonic 22 that I have in the corner over there. Ooh, wrong side. Over there. I might, that guy on this guy there, I might end up selling that one too, just because I feel that the Blackstar has a much better distorted channel than any of those amps that are trying to do the Marshall thing but don't really do the Marshall thing. The clean on the Supersonic is super clean, like really nice clean, and that's the only reason I would consider keeping that one. Um, but I feel that the clean on the Blackstar is sufficient. Not as clean, but clean enough for me, because I don't really play that much clean actually. So it will do the job for me, and I think there's a lot of overlap. So I don't know, I'm thinking about it, but that's kind of what I'm leaning towards in terms of chopping block. liquidation sale for now. I might change my mind, but we'll see. Rich says there is no last guitar for me. I just love them all, I guess. Gas for life, maybe rehab is next. Yeah, definitely rehab. Definitely. Oh, my computer is gonna die out. I just noticed I have like almost no more juice. I gotta plug this in. Oh, it's a good thing I caught it, or else we were gonna be cut off there. All right, guys. So look, it's been almost 2 hours that we've been jabbering here. I definitely want to wrap it up now. We'll just answer a couple more questions and then I'm off. Got to get the rest of the day on. Got to get the show on the road, and I got to practice. Bruce says, I thought my PRS Core P22 would be my last guitar. Yeah, like that worked out. I know, man. I hear you, dude. And I hear Strat 5150. I'm the same way. I can't even get one bought and set up before I start looking at something else. Same here, dude. Same here. That's why you're on this channel, man. That's why you're tuning in. We all got that problem. Mike says my TE90 quilted maple had a black neck, and they haven't made that model for years, and it had the small F holes. So it's definitely an old stock that I paid full price, and they wanted to see a picture. Okay, so Mike, so you think you got old stock from Harley Benton? Yeah, I think maybe they're not necessarily shipping everything directly from the actual factory, from from Thomann, and maybe they're drop shipping a lot of the stuff, and maybe some of the suppliers are trying to pull a fast one. You know, that could be too. Here's another tip from Randy. He says a little alcohol with a greeny scrubber pad works great on fingerboards. Yeah, as long as you're not too aggressive with the, you know, the rubbing of the board. Alan says, sorry to hear that they did that to you. Thomann are best avoided. You know what, man? It all depends on your experience. You can buy great guitars from anywhere and have a bad experience, you know. But if it happens more than once, then there's definitely a problem. And if they don't make it right, that's it. Fat Philosopher says his wife probably stopped him from playing. I hope not, man. I hope not. Yeah, pawn shop, local stores, that's the place you want to be at. You get to try them, you get to see them firsthand, you can smell them, see if they smell of cigarette or not. Definitely. Randy says Cheap Trick was loud. I haven't seen Cheap Trick at all. But yeah, I could imagine that they're pretty loud. So Alan says that he only has one Harley Benton, an XT22, which he bought as open box, I guess, but not used off eBay. Thankfully, it had no damage, only needs a bit of upgrading. There you go. I'm not really worried because a lot of the stuff that needs to be fixed, if there's anything that needs to be fixed, I can do most of it, unless it's something super major, like, you know, I wouldn't buy a Chipson off eBay, because those guitars are just not made right. Like the necks are not in the right place. You don't get them to intonate properly and all that kind of stuff. But if it's, you know, if you're buying from a place like Thomann, you should be able to return them if you don't like it, if it's really that bad. And if there's anything that needs to be done, I'm pretty confident that I can do it. So Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Some companies stain the fretboards to make them look darker, and you can tell because whenever you use something to clean the fretboards, it basically comes off. You can see that, and it keeps on coming off. There's some Harley Benton guitars that will do that as well. All right. So I have a Cool Tunes Made Easy says that Rev 33 earplug you reviewed. What exactly does that do to the sound? I'm waiting on my custom earplugs to come in. So the Rev 33 stuff that I reviewed a long time ago, what they claim is that they kind of filter the sound coming into your ears through your earbuds or whatever you're using for monitoring, and they cause less harmonic distortion somehow, which basically causes your ears not to be affected by them as much. Do they work? It's hard to tell because you don't really hear anything. There's no difference in the sound. So it's kind of like it could even be that placebo effect, but they do have a lot of information on their website as to how they work. That's if you use in-ear monitors, but I don't use in-ear monitors when I jam. So I definitely put in ear protectors, and I prefer going that way for now because I don't want I don't want to be stuck with permanent tinnitus. That's a really, really distracting thing to have. Bruce says a little 400 grit sandpaper on the rosewood gets rid of the friction. Yeah, it's the same idea as the back of the fretboard. Marcus says that works for me. I also went in the opposite direction and love my Harley Benton Fusion 2 HSHLH roasted FNT. Entry cost, excellent guitar, beautiful looking, plays good. I like my my Harley Benton Fusion 2 also, and there was absolutely no defects on that one at all. So I guess it's a question of like luck of the draw in some cases. Um, Smoke says, just bought a HB Fusion T. Everything was perfect, believe it or not. Yeah, man. I have three. And out of the three, the only one that had a little defect was the gold top. And it wasn't a major thing. It was very, very minor. Bruce says that I think I'll throw a barbecue for all of the regulars. Free admission if you bring a guitar to show us. Bring your own mask. Giant backyard. Plenty of room for social distancing. I'm in, Bruce. Just tell me when and where. I hope I don't have to fly in, though. Pleased to hear that you were lucky to get a good one. They can't all be bad samples. I hope not, man. Because we need a supplier of affordable guitars. Bruce also says some companies sell guitars as B stock just to reduce inventory. I bought a Traveler guitar directly from them at about 30% off, and it was absolutely brand new and perfect. And I had that experience too, where you buy a B stock guitar and you actually can't even tell, you can't even see where the problem was. So I don't know. We'll see. If that's the case, you're lucky. You're getting a 30% discount on a perfect guitar. Alan says a Japan-made RG is my last dream guitar. They're not that hard to find, are they? I mean, you can get those on eBay quite easily these days, or Reverb. We are all happy to see you, but we all expect to see you next Sunday. LOL. Once you join us, there is no going back. In the meantime, stay safe. That's a nice message. Rich says, I have 4 made in Japan RGs and they are great. I will never get rid of them. Yeah, the Japanese stuff, I gotta say, is killer. At one point, I was looking for like a special edition RG Ibanez guitar, and it looked killer and it was like amazing. I didn't end up buying it because it was too expensive at the time, and I regret it because it looked like a really, really nice guitar. We're going to look forward to seeing you again, man. Every Sunday, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Bruce says it's easier to replace a wife than a great vintage guitar. Come on, Bruce. Don't be like that. All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up right now. We've been online for 2 hours, so longer than I wanted to go, but we got to save some for next time. Definitely appreciate you guys tuning in. Take the poll. I posted that on my my channel, so if you want to pipe in on that, just click the little poll, yes or no answers there, and we'll tally up the results and we'll see what people think about the question of the day. In the meantime, I'm glad everyone was able to tune in. Grab some swag if you want to support the channel, and hey, even just tuning in and giving me a thumbs up whenever we have these sessions is a big help and is greatly appreciated. So looking forward to seeing you guys next time. Stay tuned. There's going to be more other interesting videos coming up, namely, I don't know if you guys saw the Mad Hatter stuff that I did, but that stuff's coming up soon. That should be up probably on Monday, and then there's some other great videos coming as well. So stay tuned for all of that great stuff. Give me a thumbs up if you like the channel and you want to support what we're doing. And please tune in again next time, because I'm looking forward to seeing all of you guys. All right? Stay safe, stay tuned, and keep rocking. See you soon, guys.